Alright, here we are. I've been having a lot of people ask about kite fishing. Not really a lot of people do it out in New Jersey. So, this is what I do. When I use the kite, I use it a lot. I use it when I'm shark fishing, use it if I'm drifting, and it literally will catch everything that is out there. I think better than trolling or trying to chunk. You're putting a live bait or even a dead bait on the surface and it is going to get eaten. You have no tackle in the water except for your bait. So everybody thinks it's a real difficult thing to do, and it's really not. I basically do it. I got 3 rods. I have one set up specifically for the kite, and I have 2 that I use for fishing with the kite. The one that I have set up for a kite, for flying the kite, is a heavy boat rod with a reel with an extremely strong drag. You're going to be flying a kite similar to this one behind me. Now this style, I do not recommend if you are just starting out. You will dunk the kite and then your day is over, unless you have another kite. These things have a tendency, if you don't have a helium balloon on the back, pinned to the back of them, to want to spin and then hit the water. Once that starts occurring, there's nothing you can do. The kite is going to crash no matter what. So, I recommend the Boston Big Game kite. It is the easiest to deploy. If it gets wet, you literally take it out, shake it off, and it'll go right back up. And I've deployed it in literally 5-mile-an-hour winds. What I have here is, this is spooled with like 350 yards of 65-pound braided line. And then going on the end, I have 2 outrigger clips strung through the line. The outrigger clips usually come with a little bar that goes through here. I take a pair of bolt cutters, snip the bar off. One of them I keep the way it is. And then one of them I drill out so that it has a little bit bigger of a hole. When deploying the kite, attach your snap swivel to the kites. Come with a swivel on there. Simply hook it on, clip it, send it behind the boat. The kite will catch air, hopefully, and start its ascent into the atmosphere. So, as the kite goes up, these clips are going to, you see, they slide. So what's going to go on is at 75 yards, I have a braid wrap around the line to make it a little bit thicker. The hole that I drilled on the first one is big enough so that it will slide past the first stopper. But when this clip hits that stopper, it's going to stop, and then it'll lock in place. What I do then is I take, preferably a live bait. I will use anything. I'll take sabiki rigs when I first set up for shark fishing and stick one on either side of the boat, send them down to the bottom. I'm usually in like 100 foot of water, and I tell you the bottom is covered in very small sea robins out there, which sometimes you will be bringing up 3 or 4 at a time. Now people think I'm nuts. I've caught bluefin tuna on sea robins. I've caught multiple species of shark on sea robins, flown from kites and flatlined. That's what's out there. The tuna will feed on the bottom. Sharks feed on the bottom. What do you think they're finding down there? If the bottom's covered in sea robins, they're going to be eating the sea robins. Whatever's available, whatever's the easiest meal is what they're going to eat. Always. So then you have that. Once you get to that point where you're about to deploy a bait, the kite setup on my rod looks like this. This is what I have going on here. So, this setup, you have what's known as a speed ring. This is what you're going to be attaching to the outrigger clip. This allows your line to move freely. Sometimes when your line is in the outrigger clip, it'll get twisted and stuff, and it won't. Your line needs to be able to move up and down with the seas. As the kite raises up, It needs to be able to do whatever it's going to do. Plus you're deploying, that's right at the end of that rod tip of that. So when you start deploying, you're going to have to let out. The next clip spot is 100 yards off of that. So you're going to have to let out a lot of line. Now with that said, the reel, this is a Shimano Speedmaster 16. I have it loaded. There's like 400 and some odd yards of 30-pound monofilament, pure mono. I like to use mono. It gives you a little bit of stretch and whatnot. It's what I grew up on. It's what I like. Some people use braid. Braid's fine. Line doesn't matter what you're using on here. I like to go light because you are sticking this through an outrigger clip, so 30-pound test. Plus, you have to factor in now this is all swinging in the wind, and that's going to dictate how it fishes. After the speed ring, you have a brightly colored painted 2.5 or 3-inch float. This is so that you can always see where your bait is at. You don't want your baits flying above the surface. When you see this, you know however long you make your leaders, that's how much it is to the ocean surface. So you know if you have to let out, and that's the other thing. You constantly have to be playing it to get it right because the seas change. There's bigger waves, there's smaller waves. There's going to be a lot of things going on that affect it. Next is a light 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce, depending on the conditions. Higher wind, you're going to need more to keep your bait down. Because like I said, the line's going to catch the wind and that's going to want to rise and stuff. Then after that, any kind of bead just to protect your knot, because that is going to be bouncing all day up there, derp, 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 you know what I mean? It'll eventually do some damage to that knot, and you don't want that to occur when a fish finally decides to come along and bite, because you are going to lose that fish. Next, what I use is I like to make, this is 69-pound test wire. I use wire because there's a lot of toothy critters that are going to be eating these baits. When I tell you everything eats a kite bait, everything eats a kite bait. Wahoo, king mackerel, mahi, you're going to catch a metric ton of sharks. Sharks, look, you're dangling a free little treat right on the surface that's splashing and obviously can't do a whole lot. I like to use around 5 feet. My boat's low to the water, so I don't really need to have my float, because that's comes in with the float, so you can be able to see it. I only make them, about an arm's length. And haywire twist, 7/0 circle hook. When rigging the baits, I like to bridle my baits. So I got my little kite box here. Inside my kite box is everything I need. I have miniature rubber bands. I got all my rigging needles and whatnot. And my preferred bait is a kingfish. I don't know what it is about a kingfish, but there is nothing out there that will not. And they are relatively easy to catch. If you go out right at sunset or get out there like an hour before sunrise in like 10 or 12 feet of water on the shoals, rig up either a regular kingfish rig or a sabiki rig with small hooks and just tip them with a little bit of bloodworm, you'll catch a dozen kingfish relatively quickly, and they stay alive and alive well. They're better than spot. You're not spending $30. And most of these kingfish are usually going to be about the same size, a little bit bigger. Most of them are small. But you don't need a big bait, man. Elephants eat peanuts. That is a true story. So, rattle the bait, send it out. And then you do the same thing with the second rod. Once you get, like I said, I keep the next segment on my kite is 100 yards. So I fly 2 baits. That's usually just because I'm fishing solo all the time. I will have a tendency to use a third bait. If I have someone giving me a hand, it just starts to get a little hectic. Like I said, you're going to be constantly adjusting drags, letting out line, taking in line. You don't want your bait running deep, because the idea of this is to keep as minimal amount of your tackle in the water. The more that the fish can see of your leaders and whatnot, the more chance that he is not going to eat your bait. If anything doesn't look right, he is not going to eat it. And you're going to know when the fish is coming up to your bait. I'm telling you, because like I said, you have to watch your baits the whole time. And you're going to see one that he's going to start swimming a circle and a bigger circle. And then he's going to start moving. And before you know it, you're going to see a fish crush your bait on the surface. The other thing too is you're like, oh, I don't have a live well, or I don't have this. You do not need live bait. A kite, you can use artificials, you can use rubber flying fish, you can use dead bait. A dead sardine flown on the surface, and with this technique, is incredible for bluefin tuna. And like, as you can see, dude, it is not that difficult. I'm telling you, the deployment of the Boston Big Game Kite is the easiest deployment you will ever. It's easier than flying a kite at the beach. And you got to make sure that, look, they sell kite rods. I like a bigger one because, like I said, my boat's low to the water. I want everything up a little bit higher, so I use just a 50 to 80 pound boat rod. And like I said, the one is an Okuma 15 high speed, and then I have the Shimano Speedmaster 16, both spooled with 30-pound mono. And dude, if you can't catch a 150-pound bluefin tuna on this outfit, you probably shouldn't be, you might want to sell your boat and some other things. But the rod that it's matched to is this setup is the Shakespeare Tiger, I don't know, dude, 50 to 100 pound jigging rod. I like it because the tip's a little bit softer. It gives it a little bit, plus you can get, because it's a jigging rod, when that fish goes deep, you can get a lot of torque on him with these rods. You can like almost tie them in a knot. They're so sensitive. The other rods I use are these two up here, and that's if I know there's some larger fish. And these, when I say larger fish, I'm only bumping up to 40-pound monofilament. And they're 6'6" boat rods. It's a very similar outfit to like the reels are basically the Penn 45 GLS, which is like a 3040 Senator with a lever drag. And then the rods are like the old school Penn Slammers. And those things, dude, will handle anything that is going to come along. Not to mention, with this kind of tackle, any fish that you hook on it is going to be fun. Whether it's a 5-pound mahi or a 50-pound wahoo. And I'm telling you, this technique, I don't know why people don't do it. Because, like, dude, you're dangling a piece of candy. You know what I mean? And, like, when you're shark fishing, you're drifting baits out the back. You're usually got them a little deep. When you're chunking for tuna fish, you got your baits out the back, only in one area. This takes all of your stuff upwind. So now you're focusing on an entire another portion of the water column. Increasing your odds, you know what I mean? Those fish may not even be seeing your baits. But, look, I don't know if any of that made sense. But that's what I do. And like I said, it's once you do it a couple of times, and I'm telling you, it doesn't take long. You fly a bait and you're going to catch something within a half hour. You go 20 miles off Atlantic City and you put this out there and you will catch something large. More than likely, like I said, a shark. And I know like that's not everyone's thing, but dude, you catch a 200-pound shark on this rod and you're going to be in a world of trouble. You know, it's a 200-pound fish. It's going to do you a battle. You know, but look, like I said, I've caught king mackerel. I've caught good mahi. And dude, why not do this instead of pot hopping? Pot hopping, you're running your motors, you're spooking everything. And not to mention, dude, most of those boneheads out there will go up and drive up and look like right down in the water, 10 feet away from the pot and be like, I don't see anything. Like, dude, when you were 50 yards away, they heard you. They left. They're like all 35 to 40 feet deep where you can't see them now. It makes no sense. Trying to get a fish like that to come back up is impossible. You do this, you are in stealth mode completely. The boat's off. You're dangling just, if I was a fish, how could you not eat that? I want to eat it just thinking about it, and I ain't a fish. But, well, look, that's what I got. And, yeah, I've never done one of these. This is my first one. Maybe I'll do some more. I don't know. And give this a try. I'm telling you, dude, I guarantee it. It's the closest thing to a guarantee of catching fish that there is out there. Do you like going out and wasting gas trolling all day? No. Go, like I said, go somewhere out just past the reef and do this. And the amount of fish that you're going to catch is going to boggle your mind. And you're going to be like, why doesn't everyone do this? I'm still like that. And, like, dude, my proof is there. It works. People are like, duh. Look, you're trying to catch fish that we only get to see for, like, sometimes 60 days a year. This is what people who get to fish for them 365 days a year do. So, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. But, that said, thank you for watching. I hope someone learned something, and if not, I don't care.